Even for the worst serial killers out there, the number 400 is a whole lot of people to kill. But for this beast of the woods, the Royal Bengal Tiger, or better known as the Champawat Tiger, it's just what the people had to pay for causing it harm. The 8-foot, 300-pound beast in the early 1900s was located at the peak of the Himalayas. With an intense rage and a passion for killing, it was considered one of the most deadly and predatory tigers in the history of mankind. Compared to sharks, which many people are greatly frightened of, with just an average of 5 human kills a year, this tiger put up some very crazy numbers on the board. And even worse compared to what we know to be tigers today. The ones of the 1900s, it's fair to say that those were tough times for humans, especially for those who occupied the area of Nepal in 1903. As this particular Royal Bengal Tiger had stalked Nepal that year, of which they named the Champawat Tiger, which in Nepalese is assumed to be the destroyer of man, hence the beginning of a hunting spree in the local villagers. From men to women and even children, none were left out. So, considering how terrifying all of the incidents were becoming, the locals decided that if anyone was going to be entering the woods, they'd have to do so in groups. Well, that wasn't of any use, because while the tigress was deadly, it was also very smart, making sure to strike only when the locals wandered off alone, while silently dragging her victim back into the jungle to devour. Seeing that this wasn't working out too well for them, the government came up into the picture, calling the land's best hunters to go after her. That, however, wasn't enough, because somehow the tigress showed how professional she could be by hiding and avoiding all of the effort that they put in. Following their hunt for her, the tigress continued to kill even more victims as she racked up an insane kill count of 200 victims as she tore them apart, disassembling their body parts and leaving nothing as little as their blood-soaked clothes. Considering their early efforts of sending out hunters were to no avail, the Nepalese army was sent to give it a shot. But just like the hunters, the Nepalese army also wasn't enough to kill or even capture the ferocious tiger. However, considering their failed attempt, the army decided to form a vast line of soldiers, pushing through the thick jungle as they forced the tiger out of Nepal, straight into the neighboring country, India. Hence, the Champawat Tiger was unable to continue her killings in the Nepalese villages, as she moved on to feasting in her new territory. And as for the Nepalese government, this was a good enough solution to their problems, so they called their forces off. Now, considering that man-eating animals were sort of the norm in India and Africa alike, there was a rise to track and destroy these man-eaters by legendary hunters, one of which was named Colonel James Corbett, who was a British hunter of Irish descent operating in colonial India. So, as the tiger started its hunt in the Indian territory, the colonel was called upon to hunt, to track, to kill her. And he agreed with these conditions. These conditions included that, first, the government rewards put in place be cancelled, and that the other hunters which the government employed be recalled. As crazy as it sounds, the reason was that, considering there was a big bounty on the tigress's head and other hunters roamed the thick jungle, the risk of him being shot accidentally was very likely. And there was also the fear that non-offending tigers would be killed in the process of hunting out the one killer tiger. Once that was agreed upon, in 1907, Corbett started off his hunt for the tiger, with the theory that the one reason this tiger had gone at humans was probably that it was under a lot of stress and sorting out to change her diet, but didn't agree with the fact that being chased out of Nepal should have caused her to resume her animal hunt. And then there was a second theory, which was that the beast had most likely suffered an injury that caused it inability to hunt wild game. Unable to feast on its usual prey, it developed a taste for human flesh, and was convinced that this was going to be a great alternative. Now, considering how huge this tiger was, and also the fact that it was the single deadliest tiger to have ever stalked humans, you would imagine that Corbett was equipped with an arsenal. However, that wasn't the case, as the colonel went deep into the jungle with a trusty rifle, and soon enough, he was able to track it down to a village called Champawat. At this point, the tigress had made her presence known, as she let out roars from the jungle, leaving the villagers scared to the bones and unable to leave their homes except when necessary. But not too long after Corbett arrived, the man-eater struck again, killing a 16-year-old girl, and, per usual, dragging her body into the jungle to feast. However, that only served as a means to the tigress's end, as she had left behind tracks, making it easy for Corbett to follow her. In no time, Corbett was face to face with the man-eater, as she was feasting on her game. And immediately the two began a duel to the death as she went at Corbett with her razor-sharp claws, while Corbett matched her energy with the one weapon he had, his hunting rifle. As they continued to battle, Corbett immediately took his chance and shot the tigress in her face. And that was the end of the Champawat Tiger's reign. However, before that came, it was recorded that the man-eater had not just killed, but eaten an insane number of 436 victims in the space of the 4 years that she terrorized the two countries. To prove Corbett's second theory, after killing the beast, the colonel figured that the tiger had suffered some sort of periodontal disease, considering she had broken fangs, and that most likely would have been the result of aging. Corbett, however, went on to establish India's very first national park, which, after his death in 1955, was named after him as the Jim Corbett National Park. As time went on, tigers feasting on humans never stopped, as they continued to occasionally snack on humans. However, the death of the Champawat tiger was the end of the constant human massacre by tigers. At the same time, villagers in the Indian Territory went on to discover more ways to chase the tigers away. However, considering the route by which they passed to their job sites, which proved to be great hunting grounds for these tigers, the villagers went on to record an estimate of about 60 deaths per year. Figuring that out, the villagers came up with another technique of wearing masks on the back of their heads, giving the tiger an impression that it was being watched, and it couldn't make use of that element of surprise. And just like that, as silly as it might sound, the killings dropped drastically. And so even in the present day, some parts of India have continued to make use of this tactic to keep these wild beasts far away, as these tigers can't stand the thought of being watched, and so they simply back off. So, regardless of the fact that this Champawat tiger did do a great deal to human existence, many more predators out there have proven to outdo what she accomplished, leaving us humans with food for thought. Are we really the apex predators of our environment? Tell us what you think in the comment section below. And also, don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more thrilling videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.